Daniel here for Tabletop. For one, please join me at the table as I teach and play through Raxxon. And I thank you for joining me for this tutorial and solo playthrough of Raxxon. Raxxon is designed by J. Arthur Ellis and published by Plaid Games. It is set in the world of Dead of Winter, and this is one of those games that kind of flew under the radar. I think part of it's due to this cover because you can barely see what it is, so it's not very appealing to look at. But inside this box is a very fun push your luck zombie survival game that involves action programming. And the solo mode for this game doesn't deviate much from the multiplayer game, has you playing one character each day with only one modified rule. So let's go into setup. Now the first thing you'll need is the Raxxon board here. We're going to place it all the way over here on the right. And we're going to shuffle up the Raxxon deck. This is a deck of event cards. And we'll shuffle this up and set this off the screen here. You'll see the deck just slightly off the screen. There's a draw pile here and an untriggered and triggered piles. I'll go into what those mean later. Then you'll place a little tracker here. It goes over the 0 spot on the Raxxon power track. And now we need to set up the population deck, but you have to choose which scenario you're going to do. There's 4 different scenarios. We're going to do the intro scenario, and that actually has you removing some cards from the deck, whereas the rest of the scenarios will use all the cards. And so for the intro scenario, we have to remove 4 of each zombie from the deck. So 4 of the red ones, 4 of the yellow ones, and 4 of the purple ones. Those will get removed. And then we need to remove 2 celebrities, 3 family, and then 5 of the hostile cards. And so these will get removed from the game and not be used in the intro mode. Then for the rest of the cards, you're going to have 20 left over what are called healthy cards. Cards with the heart in the upper left-hand corner. They're also blue and green. And so the healthy cards, you're going to have 20 of those. You'll separate those from the 18 zombie cards that you have. Then you're going to shuffle up all the zombie cards. And you're going to deal 9 into a stack here. And then the rest of them are going to go in the infection supply pile up here. The 9 that you dealt are going to get shuffled in with all of your healthy cards. And then we'll place that stack right here. The next thing you're going to do is choose a character to play. And I'll be playing Gabriel Diaz. And we're going to place him over here on the left. And then we'll have a bunch of action tokens that we'll place down here. And I do want to note there are 2 sides to the character here. So make sure you do the one that says 1 to 2 players. Alright, so that's it for setup. Now the goal of the game is to evacuate all of the healthy citizens into the evacuation pile. So we have to evacuate 20 of them out of this deck. The way you lose the game is if you run out of cards in the infection supply, or if the Raxxon power makes it all the way to 8. Now on your turn, first thing you're going to do is decide whether you're going to take a turn or pass. If you take a turn, you're going to follow the turn instructions shown at the top of your player action board here. And the first thing you do is you trigger all active consequences, which I'll explain shortly. And then you'll choose an available action, placing a marker on one of those actions. It'll be the leftmost spot in one of these actions here. And then you'll perform that action. And then you'll go back to the next turn where you're going to choose to take that turn or pass. Now, before we talk about the actions that a player has to do each day, I want to populate the field. Normally you do this at the beginning of the day, but for a single player, you're going to put out 9 cards in a 3x3 grid. So you just fill it out like so, one after another until it's completely full. Now, Gabriel has 6 different actions he can choose from. He has the investigate action, which he can always use, which never has any consequences. Now, for the investigate action, it shows the icon of flipping a card over. So when you choose the investigate action, you get to choose any one of the cards in the crowd and flip that card over and see what it is on the other side. Now, some of the cards have effects when you flip them over. So we'll flip over this card here. And it shows a volatile zombie. And so the volatile zombie shows a revealing action, this little eyeball here. And so it says that if there are at least 2 of this type of zombie in the crowd that's face up, we would do a viral action. Now when that triggers, you'll be drawing a card from the infection supply, which shows the matching symbol here, and putting that card in the discard pile. And that'll be face up. Now, if there were 3 volatile zombies in play when this was revealed, then we would immediately go to the night phase here as shown by the moon icon, and that would cause us to end our day. And I'll explain end of day later. So you have to be careful when you're revealing zombies because, like I said, you could end up revealing 2 of the same kind and causing things to trigger. Now, there are some cards that have consequences on reveal with just one card, so you have to watch out for those as well. And so let's go over the rest of his actions here, and then we'll talk about action consequences. So he has targeted evacuation, which says move one face-up healthy card and any adjacent healthy cards to the evacuation pile. So let's say that he had these 3 cards face up like this. All 3 of these are healthy, as shown by the heart symbol in the corner. And so if he chose to use the targeted evacuation, he would choose this card as his target card, and any adjacent, which is orthogonally adjacent, so up, down, left, right, he would add those as well and place these face up in the evacuation pile. Next up, we have conflicted airstrikes. So it says kill all cards in one row or one column in the crowd. And the chosen row or column may not include face up healthy cards. So right now, he could choose, let's say, to destroy this row. He would do an airstrike on this column here. And since there are no face up healthy cards, he could destroy them all. Now, when you kill cards, you have to turn them face up because sometimes they are healthy cards. And that's going to have a detrimental effect. So it shows you here on death that this causes infection. And so we would again draw one card here and place it in the population discard pile. The next one here, the quarantine action, is to move up to 2 face-up infected cards from the crowd, so from here, and or from the uncontained quarantine area, which is right here, and put them into the contained quarantine area. So I could take these 2 cards here and place them right here. I'll explain the significance of the contained quarantine when we get to end of day phase. The next one here is roadblock. It says to place 3 action tokens on one card in the crowd. When a card would be added to an adjacent spot, remove a token instead. Discard any tokens left on this card when it is moved or removed. And so if I wanted to, I could place 3 tokens right here. And so if a card were to be placed next to it, added onto the crowd here, I would instead remove 1 token. And we'll talk about adding cards in just a moment. And the last one here for Gabriel is aggressive crowd control. It lets you swap the position of any 2 cards in the crowd. And so if we were in this situation here, where we had healthy person here and a zombie here and a healthy person here, and we want to line things up for his targeted evacuation, we could do the aggressive crowd control first, swapping these 2 into place, then later on doing the targeted evacuation, taking all 3 of these cards and placing them in the evacuation pile. Now, one thing I want to note is on 2 of his actions, he has the ability to augment those 2 actions by risking it and drawing a Raxxon card. See this little triangle with a question mark? It allows you to do an additional bonus, but that requires you to draw a Raxxon card. Now, when you draw a Raxxon card, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to look and see if the italicized part of it triggers this card. So it's going to say if something is there, if a condition is met, then you're going to trigger this card. So this one here says, this is Friends Forever Part 2. It says if Friends Forever Part 1 is in the triggered Raxxon pile, which is the top pile up here, then you have to check now for condition 1 or 2. It says if a healthy card was moved near quarantine due to Friends Forever Part 1, read and resolve the following, and then you'll do the action at the bottom. This action here, showing the RP, is referenced as Raxxon power. So anytime this icon is triggered, you'll move the Raxxon power up 1 space. Now this other condition here, just to show you as an example, says if a healthy card was not moved near quarantine due to Friends Forever Part 1, read and resolve the following. There's just some flavor text there, but this one has you increase the infection rate by 2. Now there are a lot of Raxxon cards that won't trigger, at least not right away, so you don't have to worry about them, and some of them are character specific. So they'll say if this particular character is in play, then you'll trigger that card. And we'll encounter those as we play. Now let's talk about action consequences. See, as you go, when you're choosing to do an action for a turn, you have to place one of these action tokens in one of the available slots. If there is no available slot, you cannot use that action. And so when you place an action token in the slot, let's say I placed a few of these here, after you've done that action, that ends your turn. However, the next turn, at the start of your turn, if you choose to take a turn instead of passing, you're going to first activate all your consequences. And so that's any of these actions here that have an action token under them. So you're going to activate all those icons above those action tokens. So in this case here, this one says I'm going to add a card to the field. And so when you add a card to the field or the crowd, you'll take the top card of the population draw pile and you're going to place it next to most cards possible. So in this case here, I could place it here or here. And so you can choose between those two, but it would go in one of those two spaces, not here because that's only next to one card, but the here is next to two cards. Some of these consequences have you drawing Raxxon cards. So this one here, the exclamation point and the red symbol, that's going to have you draw a Raxxon card. And then some of these other ones will have you reveal cards. And so these actions, while they're consequences, they can be beneficial, especially if you're running out of cards in the field, you want to add more cards to the field, or if you need to reveal more cards per turn. Because all of these will happen first, then you'll choose your action for the turn. So let's say at this point, I chose to do a targeted evacuation, and then evacuated these three cards here, like so. Then my turn would end, and so now I would choose, do I want to take a turn, which means take all these consequences and do another action, or pass? Now, in the multiplayer game, if you pass and everybody else passes, then the day will end. Except in solo mode here, this is the exception. You get to pass twice in the solo mode. So the first time you pass, you're going to remove all action markers from your card, and then you'll just resume the game as normal. Now, if you pass the second time in a day, we're going to go to the end of day phase. Now let's say this was the setup for their first end of day phase. The first thing you do is you're going to flip over all these cards in the crowd. Now this does not trigger on reveal effects, so don't worry about that. But then you're going to go through the infection spreads stage. And so you're going to count all the cards in here that are infected cards, the cards with the biohazard symbol there, the zombie cards basically, as well as the ones in the uncontained quarantine area. You'll count how many of those there are. So in this case here, there are 3. Then you're going to infect, based on that count, to a maximum of 4. So in this case here, we would draw 3 cards from the infection supply, put it in the population discard. Then you'll take those cards from the uncontained quarantine and the crowd and put them in the discard pile along with whatever cards came from the infection. You'll take the discard pile and the population draw pile and shuffle them and form a new draw pile. And then you'll remove all action markers, and then we'll start a new day. And of course, with the new day, you're going to put 9 cards out in a 3x3 area. Now, one thing for the solo mode is you're able to, on a new day, swap out your character. Just be sure to be playing on the 1 to 2 player side of the character card. All right, and so we're ready to begin the game here. So we're going to first seed this area here with 9 cards. I don't think I mentioned in the setup, but there can never be more than a 6x6 area, so keep that in mind. And so my first action of the game is to do an investigate action. So that lets me flip over 1 card. I don't have to place an action token. So we flip over this card and it's an innocent card. So that's good. It's not going to hurt us or anything. And so we move on to the next turn. And I'm going to take a turn. Again, I could pass if I wanted to, but there would be no reason to at this point. And so we'll do the investigate action again. And I'll investigate this card here. And look, we have another innocent. All right, moving on, we'll do 1 more investigate action, see what we get. All right, so now we have a carrier. Now it has a reveal value of 2 or 3 of the same kind. And so there's only 1 carrier face up in the crowd right now, so I don't have to worry about that. But if another carrier gets revealed, then it's going to cause me to draw a Raxxon card. So I do have to be careful about that. And so I think what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do aggressive crowd control. Aggressive crowd control lets me swap the position of any 2 cards in the crowd. I can also flip a card face-up card face down if I wanted to, but that's going to cost me drawing a Raxxon card, so I'm not sure about that. But we're going to place an action token here, and then I will swap these 2 cards here. I'm hoping this one's a healthy one. And so I'm not going to do the extra option of flipping over this card. We'll just leave it. And so now we go on to the next turn. I'm going to continue my turn. I'm not going to pass, but now I have a consequence that I have to use. And that means that I'm going to be flipping over a card automatically. And so I'll choose a card here and we'll flip this over and there we go. That's not too bad. It's a hostile. Now hostiles do have on reveal effects. So this one here causes you to reveal more people. And if there are 4 hostiles in play on a reveal, then it'll go straight to night. So we'll have to end the day. But that's not the case here, so we're doing pretty good. And so now I have an action to choose if I want. And I think I just want to do investigate. What I'm hoping here is I can do a targeted evacuation of this card. and hoping that there's 4 healthy cards around it. That would be awesome, but we'll see how that works. So we'll do an investigate action, flipping this over, and look, another hostile. Now, we are on a reveal of 2. See, there are 2 hostiles in play, so that means this triggers, which causes me to reveal another card. So I'm going to reveal this one here. And sure enough, we have a healthy citizen here, and so we're all set up. But now we go on to the next turn, and we do have our consequences first. And so I am going to have to reveal one more card first. So I'll reveal this one in the bottom corner, and it's a volatile zombie. Now this one doesn't affect anything yet because it's only 1, and its first effect happens on 2. So we're good there. Again, it has to be 2 of the red cards for that to happen. And so at this point, I will do the targeted evacuation. And again, with the targeted evacuation, we move a face-up healthy card, so this one here, and any adjacent face-up healthy cards to the evacuation pile. So all 5 of these cards here are moving to the evacuation pile. Now, there's one note that I want to make right now on adjacency. These cards here are not adjacent to each other. Even though there's an empty space here, they're still separated by that space. And so if any effects say adjacent, these would not be adjacent to each other. All right, so we're moving on to the next turn. I am going to take a turn. I'm not going to pass yet. Now I have a consequence here of adding a card. So we take the top card of the population draw pile and add it. Now it has to go next to the most cards it can go next to. So it's either here, 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 or here, because that'll be next to 2 cards in each of those places. And I don't think I'll place it here. I think I'll place it right here. And then we also have the consequence of reveal down at the bottom here. So we got to reveal a card, and let's reveal this one here. All right, it's a healthy card. That's kind of what I thought it was. There's a lot of healthy cards starting out, so we had a good chance of getting a healthy card there. I think what I'm going to do though at this point is I'm going to do conflicted airstrike. So I'm going to kill all cards in 1 row or 1 column of the crowd. And so I think I'll kill these 2 here. And so the chosen row or column may not have any face-up healthy cards, and there's none here. So we kill these 2, and any cards you kill go in the population discard pile. They'll end up back in the draw pile the next day. All right, so we go on to the next turn, and I will take a turn. And so we're going to add a card here, and that's going to add it right here. It's the only place that's next to 2 cards. So we'll add it there. And then we have to add another card for this consequence. We'll add it here. And then we get to reveal a card. So we'll reveal this one here. And we have a celebrity. All right. Now I think what I'll do is I'll do a standard investigate action. And I'll reveal this card. And it's another innocent. So that's really good. All right. For this turn, I'm going to pass. And so when I pass, this is the first time I'm passing in the day. So I just remove my action tokens and continue my turn like normal. And so with that in mind, I am going to now do the investigate action, which lets me reveal a card with no consequence. So we'll reveal this card here, and it's a volatile zombie. Again, this one does not activate because there's not 2 face-up volatile zombies in the crowd. So we'll move on to the next turn, and I will just do the investigate action again to reveal this one here. And we have a hostile card. Now with that in mind, my next action I'm going to take is the aggressive crowd control. That way I can swap these 2 here, like so. And then we'll go on to the next turn. My consequence is to reveal a card. Well, there's no cards to reveal, so that doesn't happen. And so I'm going to go into targeted evacuation, and I'm going to evacuate these here. So we go 1, 2, 3, and 4, and all of them will go in the evacuation pile. Again, evacuating this one that was here and the adjacent ones. All right, so should I go on to the next turn or not? See, I could end the day here, which isn't a bad end to the day. We've evacuated, I don't know, probably 9 people so far, and there's only 11 to go. I can continue going on, but I only have 1 more evacuation, and I don't want to increase the infection supply too much. Well, I'm going to risk it. I'm going to take 1 more turn. It's going to cause us to add a card on that consequence, and so we'll add it right here. And then it's going to cause us to reveal a card, and we're hoping it's not a healthy person. All right, that actually worked out really well. And so what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to do the quarantine action. See, I can move up to 2 infected cards from the crowd and or the uncontained quarantine into the contained quarantine. So we'll place them right there. And at this point, I am going to pass the second time, and that's going to end the day. And so at the end of the day, we flip up any face down cards, which there are none. We count how many zombies are in the crowd and uncontained quarantine. Again, There are none, so we don't have to add anything from the infection supply into the population discard pile. And so all we have to do at this point is shuffle these cards in here, and we're going to end up starting a new day. And this is actually a really good start to the game. I think this is the first time I started the second day with the board clear like that. That just hasn't happened. I have not infected myself early on. Now, we do have to move these contained zombies into the uncontained quarantine, so those are going to be problematic later. But now we're moving on to the next day, and I have the choice of swapping out Gabriel Diaz, but I think I'm going to keep him. Yeah, he's been working out really well, so I'm going to keep him, and now we have to populate the crowd once again. Again, it's going to be 9 cards. This is for the solo mode, just 9 cards. And so our first action is going to be to investigate, and we'll reveal a card. All right, it's a healthy card, that's good. And so for our second action, we might as well reveal another, and it's hostile this time. Okay, I can deal with that. We'll do another investigate action, and all right, we have a volatile zombie. Now we gotta be careful. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I took out nearly half the healthy cards, and so probably half of this deck and the crowd is zombies at this point. So I have to be really careful how many I do, and just, make my moves wisely here. But I think what I will do is I will do another investigate and flip over this card. Oh no, it's a volatile. All right, so now that there's 2 in play, we look at this result here. It says 2 equals infect. So we got to take 1 card from the infection supply, put it in the population discard pile face up here. Now, as a reminder, if we ever run out of the infection supply, we automatically lose the game. So let's not go down that road. Unfortunately, it's another volatile zombie, which is just going to make things worse. All right, so I'm going to play it risky. I'm going to do investigate one more time and check out this card here, hoping it's not volatile because that's going to cause me to end the day. And it's a carrier. Okay, so that's good. So now we need to kill off these guys. So we'll do a conflicted airstrike, targeting this row, killing off all of these, and they're going to go into the population discard pile. Now we have a consequence. We are starting a new turn, and I will take a turn, so that means we add a card, and we'll add one right here. Now, it could have gone anywhere around this grid of 6 cards here. I just chose it right here because I'm hoping to line up some friendlies in a way that I can evacuate them all. All right, so for our next turn here, we're just going to use the investigate action, flipping this over, and it's a carrier. That's not good. We're going on to the next turn, which I have consequences first. And so I have to add a card, and the only place I can do that is right here because that's next to 2 cards. And so I have to add a card, and the only place I can do that is right here. And so that's next to 2 cards. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the aggressive crowd control and swap these 2. Because once again, I'm hoping to line up like 4 of the healthy citizens so I can evacuate them. So I hope that's right. But it also lets me get 1 additional reveal per turn here. And so with that in mind, I'm going into the next turn. Consequences first. We're adding another card. That card goes here. Then we go to reveal, where we reveal this one. And it's a hostile. Now, this is 2 hostiles now, which causes us to reveal another. And so we'll reveal this one here. Oh man, it's a chaotic zombie. And so the chaotic zombie on a reveal of 1 has you add another card. And so we'll add a card, and I think I'll add it down here. All right, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do now. I kind of want to do a crowd control and swap these 2 again, but I'm not sure that's the best way. I think maybe I should just do the targeted evacuation right now and get rid of these 3 here. Maybe that's the right way to do it. So we'll evacuate those 3. They'll go in the evacuation pile. And now we go on to the next turn. I will take the turn. Maybe that's risky, but I'm going to take the turn so I have consequences. First, we have to add a card. And it's going to go right here because that's next to 3 cards. And then the next one is to add a card. Now it can go here, here, or here. And I think I'll place it right here. And then the last one, we reveal a card. And so we'll flip this one over. All right, it's a hostile. That's not too bad. All right, so I am going to do the aggressive crowd control again. And I'm going to swap these 2 cards here like so. And that's the end of my turn. We're going into the next turn. And I'm going to risk it again. So we're going to add a card. And that card will have to go here. Then we'll add another card down here for the second consequence. And then we reveal 2 cards. All right, so what are we going to reveal? I think this one is a hostile, which causes us to reveal another. So we have to reveal 2 more now. So we'll reveal that one. another hostile. Uh-oh, the day might be ending. Because if there's 4 hostiles, then the day ends. And I think we'll reveal this one. All right, it's a healthy one. Okay, at this point, I think the best thing for me to do is another evacuation. And so I'm going to evacuate all 3 of these here. And that's it. Then I'm going to pass for the next turn. So we're going to pass, moving all of these off of here and starting out with the next turn. There's a lot of stuff on the field here, so I have to be really careful. Now, I do want to note one thing. There's no penalty for killing hostiles, so I could kill this row and have no penalty for that. But the thing about that is that the hostile ends up in the population discard pile, and so I have to wait until the next day or the next time this gets shuffled in order to get it back. Now, it's pretty close to being shuffled, because if the population draw pile is ever empty, you just shuffle the discard pile into the population draw pile. I don't know, I'm tempted to take them all out. I could also just evacuate this one by itself. Let's see where I'm at on cards. And so I'm at 15 cards right now, so I'm really close to winning. I just need 5 more. And I could have 4 of the 5 right here. I think I'm going to just do an investigate action. I'm going to investigate this one here, and it's a hostile, which causes me to reveal another card. All right, so I'll reveal this one, and it's Volatile. Okay. So before I do anything else, we're going to do aggressive crowd control. We're going to swap these 2 cards here. That way I get these all in a column. And we're going to start the next turn, which causes me to reveal a card. And we're hoping it's healthy because there's all these zombies on the board and I don't want to reveal another one. And, oh yes, it's healthy. All right, so that's good. So at this point, I want to kill all these guys. So we're going to kill the column, knocking out all 3 of these into the discard pile. Now, putting them in the discard pile is nice because it's not going to cause an infection at the end of the day. However, it does cause them to, be put back in the draw pile if I run out here, and I'm pretty close to running out. See, we're going on to the next turn, which has me adding a card to the display, which I'll add this one here. And then I get to reveal a card, and I'll reveal that one I added, and it's a healthy one. All right, so I am going to do aggressive crowd control again, I think. Well, maybe I'll wait. I think I'll do the targeted evacuation. Yeah, I think I'll do that. So we're going to evacuate these 3 here, targeting that space and those 2 adjacent. And so now I just need 2 more cards, if I counted correctly. We'll see. But now we go on to the next turn. And so I'm going to add 1 card, and we'll add it right here. And then we're going to have to shuffle this because I got to add another card. But we know that our healthy cards are somewhere in here. So we're really close to the end here. All right, so that's our new draw pile. We have to add a card. And I guess I'll add one here, but we get to reveal a card. And we'll reveal this one here, and it's hostile. And with that, I get to take my last targeted evacuation. I timed it right. I only had 1 more of those. Evacuate these 2. That makes a total of 20 cards in that pile. And so with that, we can show that there are no other healthy cards in the pile, and I have won the game. And so there you have it. That was the tutorial and solo playthrough of Raxxon by J. Arthur Ellis and Plaid Games. And it is the intro scenario, so it's a little bit on the easier side. The harder scenario has using all the cards, as well as adding some more cards to the infection supply, but also starting out with more cards in the population draw pile, more infected cards in the population draw pile. So it's a bit more difficult. It's a bit more longer of a game, but oh, it's fantastic. It's fun. I love the push your luck, all that stuff. I'll have to talk about this more in a review and let you know what I really think about it, but it's all positive. And I do apologize. Like, I never had to use one of the Raxxon cards. I guess it just turned out that way because I didn't use the quarantine action. At least not in a way that resulted in me having to use that consequence, and I didn't use any of the boosts. So I didn't get to use some of these cards, which means I kept the Raxxon power low. See, sometimes I end up with losing to the Raxxon power because I draw so many bad cards. And so yeah, it just ended up working out that way. But I apologize for not showing it because I try to show everything in the playthrough as much as possible, but maybe that's just how it worked out this time. And so let me know in the comments below what you thought of this game. Please also like and subscribe to this channel if you like the content you see here, and I thank you very much for joining me on Tabletop for One. Have a great night.